Welcome to this lecture on definition of environmental sociology. As you all know, environment is the place where we live, so it consists of our surroundings, whereas sociology is the study of society, that is human society, where we will have human individuals and also it will have a community where people live. This particular lecture, we have the following objectives. We will try to know the exact definition of environment and sociology, and we will try to know the different facets of human-environment interaction and to understand the different dimensions of the environmental sociology. It will definitely include Malthusian system or anti-Malthusian system, new biological paradigm or new ecological paradigm, and of course ecological Marxism. So as you all know, the word environment, it is developing from the French word environ, which means encircle. So it is the place which is surrounding us. And in simple words, we can say everything that is around us constitute our environment. So immediately our surrounding will have the microenvironment, but the entire arena, that is the earth, will be the macroenvironment or the biome. But this particular human beings, normally we only consider the place where we live in. But considering different scientists or different environmentalists, the definition has been given in different ways. Like, say for example, Inger and Smith in 2004 stated that environment is that which is affecting the organism during its lifetime. But Cunningham in 2004 stated that environment means all the circumstances and conditions that surround an organism or a group of organisms. Subsequently, Vorica in 2006 said that environment is defined as the physical surrounding or the conditions or even the circumstance around the person. Whereas Varipamo in 2007 opined that environment is related more to the conditions than to the support or the survival of the human beings. So we can say that environment consists of natural, it will have the physical environment or the chemical environment, it will definitely have the human environment, and it will also have man-made environment. So when we consider the natural environment, it will have the normal biosphere, that is the hydrosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere, etc. But when we have the human environment, we start from individual, then get into the family, then get into the community, then get into the workplace, then get into the society, and then get into the country. So that is human environment. But man-made environment is that where we prepare our own niche, we prepare our own dwelling system, and there will be houses, housing complex, factory, industries, offices, etc. So everything is actually our environment. And considering that biosphere is that part of the environment which is supporting our life. So it will include the air from where we get the oxygen, it will be the atmosphere, it will be the soil from where we get the nourishment, or rather the plants grow in the soil and thereby we depend on plants and animals. So definitely that way the soil is supporting life. And lastly, the water, which is so important because source of water is so important, and also it is the future food. So hydrosphere, atmosphere and lithosphere all are contributing towards the biosphere. So now we come to society. A society is a group of people living according to a shared culture. So they have some culture. So definitely the components, if we consider, we should say that the society is a concrete phenomenon and it includes a group of people having similar culture and function. And this group of people were having a culture which they share. So if we consider the relationship between economy, society and environment, at some point there is an interface. This interface is actually at the center. But actually, if we consider the size, the biggest encircling area will be the environment, followed by the society, and definitely that will all determine our economic condition. So have the innermost circle as economy, followed by the society, followed by the environment, according to environmental sociology. The basic functions of the environment are actually the prerequisite for human life, and this is stated by Schaeffer and Lamb in 1986. So the environment provides the resources essential for life, that is the air, water, raw material, food, etc. And at the same time, the environment is also our waste repository, the body waste, garbage, sewage which we all generate. And there will be a separate life form which will return back those sewage back to usable forms. So it is a continuous process of recycle and reuse. So it will house human beings and all other living organisms and even microbes, because these microbes are responsible for the recycling purpose. So if we consider that a particular human impact on environment, this human impact can be through pollution or through creation, urbanization, destruction, and thereby developing its own dwelling place. And the other component is because of the development of the society, because of the development of the economy, they will be producing waste products, and these products will be released outside, and that will create another problem of pollution. But at the same time, any particular species cannot remain within a particular place, so they need to come out. So there will be some invasion, and that will lead to a phenomenon called invasive species. And invasive species sometimes will not come alone. It will bring in some pathogenic organism, and that can actually result in all these diseases, which also include the COVID-19 invasion in different countries. So human are dependent on environment, but in the process they put into threat different other things. What are they? They use the resource, and if the resources are continually getting depleted, at one point of time their resources will be scarce. Secondly, they will develop themselves, and economic development is through industrial development, and industrial pollution is a major threat. And at the same time, when the resources are getting used up, they will tell upon the biodiversity, destruction of the biodiversity, which include the natural flora and fauna. And lastly, because of urbanization, because of industrialization, because of road development, there will be serious threat of habitat loss, which also will contribute towards biodiversity reduction. So there are specific indicators which include the human fingerprint on climate change. What are these indicators? Number one is the particular thermosphere or getting shrunk, and there will be rising tropopause, that is that particular interface between troposphere and stratosphere, and there will be huge amount of carbon dioxide generated, causing more global warming and proportionate reduction in oxygen. At the same time, there will be global warming, and this global warming will be felt more during night, so night warming we call it. At the same time, there will be more fossil fuel burnt, as a result of which there will be low fossil fuel. At the same time, there will be more heat returning to the earth, so global warming will increase, and there will be more carbon in the air, already I have stated, and the atmosphere gradually will get cooler. So the environment becomes erratic, and this erratic nature of the environment will result in variable heat escaping to space. So sometimes when it is summer, we always will not feel summer, there might be some cold wave. Or sometimes during cold, there will be heat wave. So this type of erratic behavior are nothing but they indicate pollution created by human society. So this particular pollution, when I talk about, pollution is at every level. But the most interesting fact is when the river is meeting the sea, and that is called an estuary. So estuarine area is getting polluted because this particular part is vulnerable. It is having a group of organisms which is tolerant to saline environment, a group of organisms which is tolerant to sweet water environment. So pollution or wastage of this land will mean there is a serious threat to biodiversity. Not only that, the excess runoff of fertilizer or other pollutant from agricultural field will result in toxic implication in this particular estuarine ecosystem. And sometimes these pollutants break with time. But breaking up doesn't mean they are getting detoxified. They will produce some more toxic material, and their dissipation in that area will result in far-flung consequences. One important consequence is definitely the ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is a major problem in the present day, and the major cause of this is because of excess of carbon dioxide getting dissolved in the sea water, as a result of which there will be carbonic acid and a serious drift towards the acidic pH. And because of this drift in acidic pH, there will be destruction of the different organisms, including the coral reef. And you know, this particular effect on the coral reef is so serious. At times this coral bleached will never come back to normal, as a result of which the entire natural production or producers of the ecosystem will be getting affected. And what we should do to prevent this acidification? The primary thing is to reduce pollution of the estuarine areas. And we have tourism. Of course, tourism is needed for earning foreign exchange, but definitely we should ensure that at no point of time there should be any toxic material dumping in this particular area. And at the same time, there are different natural societies or organizations which are trying to promote this particular coral reef or promote ecosystem. We should always support them and abide by the laws of that country, so that this coral reef can be protected for our own benefit in future, and thereby acidification will also come down. Another most important aspect is to reduce the amount of plastic or plastic pollutant or microplastic, because these microplastic not only get into the soil, but also they get into this particular ecosystem, and as a result of which the seawater will contain this microplastic. This will get into the body of the fishes, as a result of which the fishes will die, and the entire ecosystem, which is our future food source, will also get destroyed. We consider there are different areas where the biodiversity loss is a major problem. As you can see here, we have considered the North America, the South America, the Asia Pacific, and the Africa. Individually, we have considered what is the level of biodiversity loss. We can see here that in an average, the biodiversity loss in the global context is around 59%. But different continents will have different value. Like say for example, it is maximum in Africa and in Asia and also in Latin America, but relatively better in North America. And in every way we can see that there is change in land use pattern. What is the change in land use pattern? Land use pattern actually will be modifying, say, the forest to agricultural land or agricultural land to urban areas, and thereby the biodiversity loss will be there. And if we have the loss in one particular continent, it is not that the other continents are not affected. Like say for example, if the Latin American climate is changing, obviously the global climate will also change. So the Amazon basin, the biodiversity needs to be protected and not converted to agricultural land or pastures for animal husbandry to supply meat to North America. Because if we eat that, then definitely we should understand that we are eating this meat which is coming in exchange of destruction of natural forest in South America. And obviously, the African continent, we have to be careful at this point of time, because Africa is an area which is treasure, which is having huge amount of resources, and change in land use pattern, change in biodiversity, destruction of biodiversity will bring in serious threat in future. So this was the environment. Now we come to environmental sociology. So it is the study of the interaction between the society and the natural environment. The field emphasizes the social factors that influence environmental management and cause environmental issues. The process by which these environmental problems are socially constructed will define the social issue, and it is our pleasant duty that this social response should be taken into consideration in order to solve this problem of social degradation. The major domain of this environmental sociology will be the actual social scientific perspective. It will also focus on the environmental problem which is impacting the society, which is impacting our working condition. And at the same time, it will acknowledge the importance of each other, that is, the societies with each other we are growing, because if we support each other, then only the society will thrive in future. It's actually a very important terminology. It is called extentialism, which is the doctrine that amongst sentient human beings, that this humanity existence takes precedence over essence. That means what? If a man is totally free and is responsible for his act, this responsibility is the source of dread and anguish that encompasses the world. So that means a natural calmness in a human being will make the society more better, much better place to live in. And this extentialism is a philosophical movement which is actually emphasizing on individual existence, freedom and betterment. And it was initiated in the 19th century, continued in the 20th and 21st century. It became popular in the post-World War years. At this particular time, human became more resilient towards this destruction, and obviously this resulted in a better place after the World War was over. And in between this particular 1930 to 1970, the cultural movement resulted in better philosophical understanding. So the most important point in extentialism is to be true to yourself. Extentialism brings me to the dual issue of monism and dualism. Monism is the doctrine that there is only one ultimate reality, and it will be the candidates, including God, mind and matter. But dualism actually will state only the mind and matter and not God. So there are two ultimate realities, and that is important for human existence. This brings us to the next aspect, which is the growth of human beings and the resources, and that is commonly called Malthusianism, neo-Malthusianism and anti-Malthusianism. Malthusian system, as you all know, is actually increase in human beings in geometric progression and increase in resources in arithmetic progression, which is clearly seen here. A point will come where this particular graph will intersect each other, and this will result in the downfall of the population. Now, the neo-Malthusian viewpoint actually is something different from Malthusian system. What does it state? It will state that people usually will have basic concern of population control, that if we can control the population, then only resources can last for a longer period. So human suffering can be reduced to a great extent if population control is brought about according to this neo-Malthusian system. So we can see in this graph that population, food, industrial output, everything is going up, and this is the time where they will all reach the peak. Of course, the nature of the curve is variable. Like say for example, the population graph is so gentle that it will gradually come down. The resource is always getting depleted, it is obvious. But most interestingly, the food production is also going down sharp. But apparently, what is clear from this particular graph is that individually, population, food, pollution, everything will go down in 2100. And that is the alarm bell. We should try to realize that in 2100, if resources are not there, then human stability, human existence will be in a severe question. Whether we will exist or not, we not yet know if we are not taking the guard at the present day. Now, another interesting point is that this particular neo-Malthusian and anti-Malthusian system, we say that neo-Malthusian, we said that Malthusian system is definitely helping us to understand that if we can prolong the resources, we can survive. Neo-Malthusian system definitely means that if this particular process of population control is in place, then definitely the resources will last for a longer period. But anti-Malthusian system actually state that in order to bring in that particular reduction in population or increase in resource, we definitely need to have technology. So with this technological advancement, we can definitely ensure more resources, and that will be made available to human in the future years. And towards the end, we come to a very important issue, and this issue is the new ecological paradigm. And this is actually the measurement of endorsement of a pro-ecological worldview. It is widely used in environmental education, in outdoor recreation, in realms or differences of attitude between people, between countries, or even the world view. And basically, this particular new ecological paradigm is given a major 15-point scale having 5 major areas. And this is called a multifaceted scale of the new ecological paradigm. This 15-item scale will consider these 5 points. What are they? They are the structure, which will comprise of the ecological worldview of internalized primary belief. The second one is the balance of nature, that is the human activity and the impact of nature. It will have the ecological crisis, that how much detrimental the nature has become because of anthropogenic advances, and also anti-exemptionalism, which believe that human beings are not exempted from the wrath of nature, and lastly the limit of growth of human beings. Now this multifaceted scale of new ecological paradigm is definitely the future scale which will determine whether human will exist in a better way. And this brings us to a particular terminology called social ecology. In order to understand the environmental problem, we need to seek their source, and that is what is social ecology, where it has originated in the society and the different environmental factors that actually sustains the society. According to Schneiberg, who actually did the intellectual tool of dialectic analysis, there has been several issues which was later on expanded by Hegel and Marx. What actually he stated was a societal environmental dialectic. He argued that this economic growth is the basic value of the societal improvement in the Western world, whereas ecological disruption is a necessary consequence of economic expansion. So this is the dialectic. One side there is development, another side there is disruption. And that is why we say economic growth, if it is the thesis, then ecological disruption is the antithesis, and there lies the dialectic principle. And this will result in different synthesis of economy, synthesis of a managed society for betterment of human, and of course, a better society will lead to a better ecological advancement. So in this particular lecture, what I actually did was, I started with the environment, defined environment. I stated about the components of environment. I talked about society. I talked about its component, and then I discussed the different arena of the society. And of course, then environmental sociology, different aspects of environmental sociology with tools like Malthusianism, neo-Malthusianism, anti-Malthusianism, and of course, I concluded with new ecological paradigm, eco-Marxism, and of course, the society-environmental dialectic. Thank you.